All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to the class. We'll chant the Mangacharin prayers. Namo Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrachatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sachivam Sadavaitam Savadvitam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Papam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschakta Desha Tarini Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurkashe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Takta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarurvyasya Vipasam Gopurivaccha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namostate Vyasavishada Buddhe Fullaravindai Tapatra Netre Yena Taya Bharata Tayalpurnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradeepaha Prapanna Parijataya Putra Vetrekapanaya Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gita Duhe Namaha Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to Bhagavad-gita class on chapter 14, the three modes of material nature. Okay, some questions from chapter 13 to look back at chapter 13. Since when conditioned jiva is associated with material nature? Since when? How old is the relationship?
Anadi.
Anadi. Beginningless time. Nadi. Very good. Who is the real Purusha?
The super soul. Super soul.
The super soul. Does this knowledge, which was given in chapter 13, help in advancing in bhakti?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
So in chapter 13, Krishna said in verse 22, Purushaha prakriti sthohi bhunte prakriti chan gunan karanam guna sangosya sad asad yoni janmashu. That when the living entity becomes conditioned by three modes of material nature. This topic of three modes have been introduced even earlier. Krishna has spoken about it. Devi Hesha Gunamayi. So he told that this inferior energy of his material energy is made up of gunas, three modes, Gunamayi. But he did not really get into that topic in that chapter. But in this chapter, 13, he spoke about the three modes again, because this is where Jnana comes in it, picture, the material nature. And now he's going to expand on that topic. Mm. In the chapter, Krishna explains what these three modes are, how they work, how they bind us, and how we can transcend them or go beyond them. That all is explained. Fine. So 5 things you learn in this chapter. First, what are the gunas? Second, how does the association with one of those gunas take place? Third, what is the result of association with the guna? Fourth, what are the characteristics of a person associated with a particular guna? And fifth, how does one become freed from the gunas? Okay. So this all we'll learn here. Very interesting chapter, because in this chapter you learn something which you can relate with very easily on day-to-day basis. Okay. So first section, conditioning of the modes, verses 1 to 9. First verse. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Param Bhuya Pravakshyami Jnananam Jnanam Uttamam Yach Jnata Munayah Sarve Param Siddhim Ito Gataha. Lord is saying Param Bhuya Pravakshyami. Again, he's using the most confidential term, Param Bhuya Pravakshyami. Jnana Nam Jnanam Uttamam. I am giving you the best of knowledge. Jnana Nam Jnanam Uttamam. This is the best knowledge of all knowledge. So one question came in my mind when I was studying Bhagavad-gita, that we already came across this in chapter 9 and 10, where Krishna said, this is the best of all knowledge, right? So why is Krishna repeating that in chapter 14? And if this is the best of knowledge, what about chapter 9 and 10? So while reading the commentary of Baldev Vidyabhushan Prabhu, I got the answer. Krishna is telling here, this is the best knowledge in the category of Jnana section. Because this last 6 chapters talk about Jnana. So this is the best knowledge in the Jnana section. But the best knowledge given in the Bhakti section is chapter 9 and 10 only. Okay. But in Jnana section, this is the best. Why? Because this chapter teaches us how to become free from the 3 worlds of material nature. Okay. So let's look at the purport of this verse. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Param Bhuya Pravakshyami Jnananam Jnanamuttamam Yachkyata Munaya Sarve Param Siddhim Ito Gataha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, again I shall declare to you the supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection. Purport. From the 7th chapter to the end of the 12th chapter, Shri Krishna in detail reveals the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now the Lord himself is further enlightening Arjuna. If one understands this chapter through the process of philosophical speculation, he will come to an understanding of devotional service. So the goal is devotional service only. You come to devotional service this way or that way. In the 13th chapter, it is clearly explained that by humbly developing knowledge, one may possibly be freed from material entanglement. It has also been explained that it is due to association with the modes of nature that the living entity is entangled in this material world. Now, in this chapter, the Supreme Personality explains what those modes of nature are, how they act, how they bind, and you see how they give liberation. So the modes of nature are not bad, because the modes of nature can also help us get liberation. Which mode of nature will help us get liberation? Mode of goodness. The knowledge explained in this chapter is proclaimed by the Supreme Lord to be superior to the knowledge given so far in other chapters. By understanding this knowledge, various great sages attain perfection and transfer to the spiritual world. The Lord now explains the same knowledge in a better way. This knowledge is far, far superior to all other processes of knowledge, as far explained. And knowing this, many attain perfection. Thus, it is expected that one who understands this fourth chapter will attain perfection. Okay. Text 2. So Krishna is saying, Idam jnanam upashritya mama sadharmyam agatah sarge pi nopajayante pralaya na vedanti cha. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. Perfect. Will read it. Yes, Vaishi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Pranam. After acquiring perfect transcendental knowledge, one acquires qualitative equality with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, becoming free from the repetition of birth and death. One does not, however, lose his identity as an individual soul. It is understood from Vedic literature that the liberated souls who have reached the transcendental planets of the spiritual sky always look to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, being engaged in his transcendental loving service. So, even after liberation, the devotees do not lose their individual identities. Generally, in the material world, whatever knowledge we get is contaminated by the three modes of material nature. Knowledge which is not contaminated by the three modes of nature is called transcendental knowledge. As soon as one is situated in that transcendental knowledge, he is on the same platform as the Supreme Person. Those who have no knowledge of the spiritual sky hold that after being freed from the material activities of the material form, this spiritual identity becomes formless without any variegatedness. However, just as there is material variegatedness in this world, in the spiritual world, there is also variegatedness. Those in ignorance of this think that spiritual existence is opposed to material variety. But actually, in the spiritual sky, one attains a spiritual form. There are spiritual activities, and the spiritual situation is called devotional life. That atmosphere is said to be uncontaminated, and there one is equal in quality with the Supreme Lord. To obtain such knowledge, one must develop all the spiritual qualities. One who thus develops the spiritual qualities is not affected either by the creation or by the destruction of the material world. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Sarge api nopajayante pralaya na vatanti cha. One who is having this spiritual knowledge or the qualities mentioned here, one does not become affected either by creation or destruction of material world or any material thing. One is not disturbed by material change, transformation. Next verse. Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbham dadhamyaham sambhavah sarvabhutanam tato bhavati bharata. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharata. Right? So, Mama Yonir Mahad Brahma, Tasmin Garbham Dadamyam. Who has made it possible for the Jiva to combine with Prakriti? The Lord. The combination of the Jiva and Prakriti are also explained earlier in verse like 7.4 and 5. So Krishna is the cause responsible for uh, Jiva coming in contact with Prakriti. Not as the immediate cause, but he is the supreme cause. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth. Which Brahman is Krishna talking about here? This is Jada Brahman, right? Material nature, also known as Mahad Brahman. And it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharata. Prabhupada will explain very nicely. Let's look at something else before we go to that explanation. So, Krishna, the Supreme Lord or Supreme Authority, he glances upon Mahad Brahma. That glance contains the jivas, and that glance, you can say, puts the jivas into Mahad Brahma. It's like transporting, through the glance, the jivas into Mahad Brahma. So we have to understand that this glance of Lord Shiva, so Lord Krishna, which is a total of all jivas, is also known as Shiva. We talk about Lord Shiva, right? So Lord Shiva is the glance of Krishna. Because everything related to Krishna is a person. So the glance of Krishna is also a person. And that glance is called Shiva. And that glance comes in contact with Mahad Brahma, the material nature. Therefore, Lord Shiva is told to be the husband of material nature, Prakriti, Durga Devi, right? Or Parvati. But at the same time, that Shiva is not different from Krishna because he is the glance of Lord Shiva, Lord Krishna. So these jivas are small particles of consciousness, all coming in that glance, getting in touch with Mahat Brahma, which is unconscious total material substance, also known as Durga. And then that gives birth to conscious living entities born with material bodies. Okay. So in scriptures, they say Durga is our mother, Jagadamba. The scriptures are not wrong. If the scriptures they say Shiva is our father, the scriptures are not wrong. And if the scriptures they say Krishna is our supreme father, then also the scriptures are not wrong. Why? Because all three are involved, right, in the birth of a conditioned living entity. Isn't it? And that is the reason why people born in this material world have a natural affinity or attraction towards Durga Devi or even Lord Shiva. Why? Because there is that close contact, no? They are the source. Durga is providing the material body, so she's like the mother who nourishes. And Shiva is the father who provides the semen of birth. But Krishna is the supreme father because he's the source of both Durga and Shiva. And Durga Devi provides the different types of bodies to the different living entities, varieties of bodies based on their past karma and desire. So you get varieties of bodies. Function. Since Durga Devi provides a conditional living entities material bodies, it is natural for them to see her as the mother. Okay. Now we will read through this verse, 14.3, the purport, and we'll also have a discussion. Yes, let's read. Aparajita, ask me that.
Hare Krishna Prabhupada. This is an explanation of the world. Everything that takes place is due to the combination of Kshetra and Kshetra Jnana, the body and the spiritual soul. This combination of material nature and the living entity is made possibly by the Supreme God Himself. The Mahat Tattva is the total cause of the total cosmic manifestation, and that total substance of the material cause, in which there are three modes of nature, is sometimes called Brahman. The Supreme Personality impregnates that total substance, and thus innumerable universe becomes possible. This total material substance, the Mahat Tattva, is described as Brahman in the Vedic literature, Mundaka Upanishada 1.1.19. Tasmat etat Brahma Nama Rupam Annam Cha Jayate. The Supreme Person impregnates that Brahman with the seeds of the living entities. The 24 elements, beginning from earth, water, fire, and air, are all material energy, and they constitute what is called Mahat Brahma, or the Great Brahman, the material nature. As explained in the 7th chapter, beyond this there is another superior energy, a superior nature, the living entity. Into material nature, the superior nature is mixed by the will of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thereafter all living entities are born of this material nature. The scorpion lays its eggs in piles of rice, and sometimes it is said that the scorpion is born out of rice, but the rice is not the cause of the scorpion. Actually, the eggs were laid by the mother. Similarly, material nature is not the cause of birth of the living entities. The seed is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they only seem to come out as the product of material nature. As every living entity, according to his past activities, has a different body created by the material nature, so that the entity can enjoy or suffer according to his past deeds. The Lord is the cause of all the manifestations of living entities in this material world.
So the analogy of scorpion laying the eggs in the rice is given. Actually, the eggs are laid down by the scorpion, but it appears that rice has itself given birth to so many eggs. So this is how the Supreme Lord hidingly impregnates the material nature, but it appears material nature is itself producing the different living entities. So here we come to know one thing, that Krishna is saying, Mama Yonir Mahat Brahma. I am the source of all the living entities. And this knowledge or this information is very helpful. How? Let's read the next verse. Sarvayonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavanti yaha tasam brahma mahadyoni aham bija pradapita. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. Yes, Rupanshi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Danvat Pranam. In this verse, it is clearly explained that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the original father of all living entities. The living entities are combinations of the material nature and the spiritual nature. Such living entities are seen not only on this planet, but on every planet, even on the highest, where Brahma is situated. Everywhere there are living entities within the earth. There are living entities, even within the water and within fire. All these appearances are due to the mother, material nature, and Krishna's seed-giving process. The purport is that the material world is impregnated with living entities who come out in various forms at the time of creation according to their past deeds. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so I'll give you an exercise, a group discussion. I'll put you in breakout rooms. This is the topic of your discussion. Identify some of the social, moral, and environmental issues and discuss the relevance of the knowledge given in verses 14.3 and 4 in those contexts. Explain how this knowledge can change or bring a change in people's outlook. Some examples of issues are racism, food scarcity, water pollution, motherland, etc. Okay, so you identify a problem, then you identify how the problem can be solved considering these verses which are given here and the message of these verses 14.3 and 4. You can even put your input on 2 or 3 such points or issues. And issues can be anything, even something outside this list of examples given. So I give you 5 minutes or maybe 6 minutes, and I put you into 6 groups. So you please join and discuss and choose a group leader, and then you present. Leader. Three leaders. I think we made 6 groups.
Kamla Mataji, you
Yes,
can raise
Prabhuji,
your
I'm there
hand.
from the base.
Kamla
Okay.
Mataji, do it. Raise your hand.
All right. So you can talk about one topic which you discussed about Rupanshi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes.
Prabhuji, that we discuss in our group that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and He is the source of everything. Since we came from same source, we cannot differentiate it on the basis of racism, that is African, white, black. We have life because of our past deeds. This black color or white color is given by the Lord, and all our appearances are due to our father or mother. So Lord Krishna has made earth for us, so we should not pollute it. If we consider everything as a property of Krishna, so we should take care, we should be more responsible, more take care of all the things.
Okay. Thank you. Very good. Next. Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Pancham Pranam. Prabhuji, the first point which Mataji said, same, we all come from Lord Krishna, and all the living entities, in fact, you can consider them as brothers and sisters. The thing is that, we can consider ourselves as a big family, the huge family actually, Vasudeva Kundubakam, and then if we consider ourselves to be a big family, then we will stop fighting amongst each other, and the resources would be like distributed. And another thing that we discussed was that because of the 3 modes of nature, it is affecting us, so we are constantly under conflicts and creating karma. So all the time, we are in that 84 species, or in that vicious cycle of birth and death. Then the both para and apara shakti comes from Lord Krishna, and so we should use whatever we want, but we can use everything in the service of Krishna, Yukta Vaira.
Okay.
Universal brotherhood is the first, and this point would be the same. Isha Vasa principle and Adyahara. We should not exploit more than what is required by us. So that's what we discuss in our group. Thank you, Prabhuji. Nandata.
Okay. Next. Amrita Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji Dhanana Prana. And in our group, we discuss about that in text 4, Krishna says, I'm the seed-giving father. So Krishna is all the living entities' original father. So because we are all coming from Krishna, so we are all Krishna's children. It doesn't matter the different races, or we live in the different area, or we speak the different language. We are the same family. So the father will take care of the children equally. So the children should also take good care of our brothers or sisters. But nowadays, there are at least 2 big conflict or the wars, okay, in the world, in Middle East and in Russia and Ukraine. So we can see they have the very, very big conflict about the sources or the land. That's because they don't really understand that Krishna is our original father, and we are a big family. So if people can understand it, and then we all the people in the world will be together peacefully, and no more wars. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. Shamanama.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. In our group, we discussed about the nature. Mother, all species of life are made in this material nature, and we jivas our contact with the prakriti matter. But we are neglecting our mother nature by all resources, or we are polluting, misusing. Because of that, all global warming and all of our floods are happening. That affect on us, because we are not protecting our mother nature, we are not protecting our mother nature. So all these are happening because we don't have this knowledge. Everyone, if we have the aware of this knowledge, then we can have better way protect our mother nature. So everywhere nowadays are happening floods and suffering so many jivas. What I feel like, because of lack of knowledge and negligence of protecting our nature, exploiting and polluting everywhere. So these all things are happening. So yeah,
Okay. Thank you. Devesh
that's
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat. Prabhuji, most of the points are covered. Basically, we discussed 3 points in relation to 14.3 and 14.4 is that we all belong to one big family where the seed giving father is Lord Sri Krishna. So we should not be differentiating amongst ourselves in terms of racism and color. And also, since this whole total material substance is Brahman, we cannot be differentiating between that this is my property, that is my land. Everything belongs to Lord Krishna, and we are just here and we should live peacefully. And we should not be exploiting Mother Nature as well. So we had referred 7.5 shloka here also, Yayadam Dharyate Jagat, where the living species are always exploiting Mother Nature. We should be avoid to do that, and all the points which you mentioned here is actually talking about exploitation and racism, water pollution, or fighting for every piece of land or any energy of Lord Krishna, even though inferior. We are fighting amongst ourselves to take possession of that. And of course, that we are all part of the same Father. So there should not be any distinguishing between every living being here. But all the souls belong to the same Father, end of the day. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I think one group is left, huh? Or 2 groups are left. Nagarajan Prabhu, Anjali Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I just wanted to, all the points are done. I just wanted to add in one line that we learn sharing and caring.
Yes, Mataji. Okay, Nagarajan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. In our group also, we have discussed the same thing. Since Krishna is the seed-giving father, we are taking birth according to our karma. If we understand, we will help each other. In one of the lecture I heard from Prabhupada, he said that even a serpent in your house, you should ensure that food fed to the serpent. So that much communism. The people are talking about false communism. The real communism is we should see even the animals are our brothers and sisters. Likewise, we have to see that is the real meaning of everything comes from the Krishna. So if we look into in this manner, there won't be a scarcity of anything because we'll become selfless. That's what we discussed. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Prabhuji, our group has already discussed this thing. He also mentioned the point. One thing I want to add that Prabhupada once mentioned that universal brotherhood is only possible when we have a common father, when we accept Krishna. So all the peace formula which the society discussed is only possible when we accept Krishna as our supreme father. Then we can connect to each other when we centrally accept Krishna as our father.
Yes. Thank you. So the next topic. How the material modes bind the pure jiva. Subject. So in verse 5, jiva's bondage is spoken about. Verse 6, bondage by Sattva-guna. Verse 7, bondage by Rajaguna. Verse 8, bondage by Tamaguna. And verse 9, the summary of how the jiva is bound by material modes. Fine. Sattvam rajastama iti guna prakriti sambhavaha nibadhananti mahabaho dehi dehi nam apyayam. So the Lord places the jivas in material nature. But what keeps the jivas in the material nature? The modes. The placement is done by the Lord, but keeping them in the material nature, that is done by the modes. The modes bind jiva. Nibadhananti. Nibadhananti means to bind. So text. Material nature consists of three modes, goodness and passion and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, Almighty Amrachuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes. So you come in contact with the modes, and then you become immediately after coming in contact, you become conditioned by them. Neha Mataji, please read. Go for it.
The living entity, because he is transcendental, has nothing to do with this material nature. Still, because he has become conditioned by the material world, he is acting under the spell of the three modes of material nature. Because living entities have different kinds of bodies in terms of the different aspects of nature, they are induced to act according to that nature. This is the cause of the varieties of happiness and distress. Hare Krishna.
Yes. How does the mode of goodness bind? This is explained here. Text 6. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakashakam anamayam sukha sangena badanati jnana sangena chanagha. Also in this one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. Sukha sangena badanati jnana sangena chanaga. What is the cause of bondage? Attachment to happiness and knowledge. Right? And before we look into that, so let's look at some explanation. How the jiva becomes impure, pure to impure. So the soul has the nature, intrinsic nature, to serve God. That is a pure consciousness, servitude to God. But as soon as the soul develops an independent desire to not serve God, the soul gets covered by a layer of false ego. As soon as there is a layer of false ego, then comes another layer of subtle body. And then there comes another layer of gross body. Right? False ego brings a false identity. And it is a covering supplied to by the soul by material nature. That's called the conditioning, or that's called the bondage. Based on that false ego, then the other two bodies are generated, the subtle body and the gross body. And then based on these three coverings, we become controlled by a specific combination of the modes of material nature. And because we become conditioned by modes of material nature, we also become attracted towards exploiting modes of material nature in a particular manner. So in this way, the soul becomes attracted to the material atmosphere and becomes conditioned by it, and then becomes controlled, strictly controlled. And then the experience of the self is not the spiritual experience, but it is material experience of matter. Right? Fine. We'll look at topic 214.6. This is very important topic. 14.6. Nagaraj control.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dhanapranam. The living entities conditioned by the material nature are of various types. One is happy, another is very active, and another is helpless. All these types of psychological manifestations are causes of the entities, conditioned status in nature. How they are differently conditioned is explained in this section of Bhagavad-gita. The mode of goodness is first considered. The effect of developing the mode of goodness in the material world is that one becomes wiser than those otherwise conditioned. A man in the mode of goodness is not so much affected by material miseries, and he has a sense of advancement in material knowledge. The representative type is the Brahmana, who is supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness. This sense of happiness is due to understanding that in the mode of goodness, one is more or less free from sinful reactions. Actually, in the Vedic literature, it is said that the mode of goodness means greater knowledge and greater sense of happiness. The difficulty here is that when a living entity is situated in the mode of goodness, he becomes conditioned to feel that he is advanced in knowledge and is better than others. In this way, he becomes conditioned. The best examples are the scientist and philosopher. Each is very proud of his knowledge, and because they generally improve their living conditions, they feel a sort of material happiness. This sense of advanced happiness in conditioned life makes them bound by the mode of goodness of material nature. As such, they are attracted towards working in the mode of goodness, and as long as they have an attraction for working in that way, they have to take some type of body in the mode of nature. Thus, there is no likelihood of liberation or of being transferred to the spiritual world. Repeatedly, one may become a philosopher, a scientist, or a poet, and repeatedly become entangled in the same disadvantages of birth and death. But due to illusion of the material energy, one thinks that that sort of life is pleasant. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This is a very important topic because it has some essential points to learn from in our Krishna consciousness or practice of Krishna consciousness. The living entity is conditioned by material nature of three types. One is happy. This refers to those in mode of goodness. Another is very active. This refers to in mode of passion. And another is helpless. Those in mode of ignorance. Helpless. All these types of psychological manifestations are causes of the entity's conditioned status in nature. How they are differently conditioned is explained in this section. The mode of goodness is first considered. When you have mode of goodness, you become wiser than others. You become more smart, more progressive, more knowledgeable, better in many ways. And because you don't have this nature of lamenting, pity upon yourself, you are not so much suffering in material life. I mean, sufferings are there in material life, but you don't feel sufferings much, right? And you are advanced in knowledge. So this refers to someone who is Brahmanical in nature. Okay. And because you are better than others, problem is you feel little pride. I am better. I have a good job. I'm educated. I have this, I have that. A sense of accomplishment, social status. So then that pride becomes the cause of bondage. So someone who is in mode of goodness, this is the problem. Better than others, superiority complex. So Prabhupada says that In this way, he becomes conditioned. He starts thinking himself better than others, advanced in knowledge and better than others. Right? And because they have already tasted this feeling of being better than others, they want to always remain better than others. So they're always very much actively in the struggle to remain at the top or better than others. To prove themselves, to prove their own situation or their own position. So this is the happiness that one gets by mode of goodness, and this becomes the cause of bondage in mode of goodness. So what causes a bondage? A quick question. In mode of goodness, what causes the bondage? Happiness, knowledge, or attachment to happiness and knowledge?
Attachment to happiness.
Happiness.
Attachment to happiness and knowledge. That becomes the cause of bondage. If one is thinking, okay, my happiness is Krishna's mercy and does not become attached to it, it's okay. If one thinks that one knowledge is a mercy and blessings of the teachers, the acharyas, then and one does not become attached to it, that's okay. But when one becomes attached, oh, this is my knowledge, this is my personal happiness, and it's all because of me, I'm better than others. The mode of goodness becomes cause of bondage in itself. How it happens is attachment to knowledge causes its opposite. What is that? Ignorance. And attachment to happiness causes its opposite. What is that? Suffering. Fine. So what precautions a progressive devotee must take after learning about the bondage caused by mode of goodness? What precautions a devotee has to take after learning this verse of Bhagavad-gita 14.6?
Is it that he not keep the knowledge to himself and always consider it to be the mercy of Krishna and distribute it freely? The knowledge.
Yeah, consider mercy of Krishna, and what else?
And along with the study of scriptures, one should engage in practical service of Krishna and Vaishnava, which will bring humbleness, humility to the person.
Okay, very good. Service should be there, not just study. And
Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam, the devotee should be humble.
the devotee should be humble. And
Not
Prabhuji, we
attached.
should always remember Ishavasya Idam Sarvam, that particular this thing, verse, we should remember that everything is Krishna's and we are being just given it. We should use only for our purpose, which is given to us.
yes, and
Gratitude, Prabhuji.
gratitude.
Detachment, Prabhu.
Detachment.
Detachment from happiness and knowledge. What is the bondage cause? Happiness attached to the happiness and knowledge, that we have to detach from that. Then that is the cause, right? We have that is.
And so a good lesson here is very good lesson. Don't consider ourselves better than others. You consider yourself more fortunate than others. And considering yourself fortunate will only foster humility. That I was not qualified, but I was made qualified. And just like I was made qualified, I can share the good fortune with others and they can also become qualified. So that's the approach to not become conditioned by mode of goodness. You know? Fine. Next verse. How one is conditioned by mode of passion. Rajoragatmakam vidhi trishna sanga samudbhavam tannibadhanati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, and because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material, fruitive actions. So, in mode of passion, one has lots of material desires, and that becomes the cause of bondage. Too many material desires. So one is busy trying to fulfill those material desires. Uma Mataji, please read.
Krishna Prabhu Dandavakranam. The mode of passion is characterized by the attraction between man and woman. Woman has attraction for men and man has attraction for women. This is called the mode of passion. And when the mode of passion is increased, one develops the hankering for material enjoyment. He wants to enjoy sense gratification. For sense gratification, and a man in the mode of passion wants some honor in society or in the nation, and he wants to have a happy family with nice children, wife, and house. These are the products of the mode of passion. As long as one is hankering after these things, he has to work very hard. Therefore, it is clearly stated here that he becomes associated with the fruits of his activities and thus become bound by such activities. In order to please his wife, children, and society, and to keep up his prestige, one has to work. Therefore, the whole material world is more or less in the mode of passion. Modern civilization is considered to be advanced in the standard of the mode of passion. Formerly, the advanced condition was considered to be in the mode of goodness. If there is no liberation for those in the mode of goodness, what to speak of those who are entangled in the mode of passion? Hare Krishna.
Text it. Tamastvagyanajam vidhi mohanam sarvadehinam pramadalasya nidrabhistannibhatanati bharata. O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, mode of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. So in case of passion, there are too many desires, material desires, which become the cause of bondage. In mode of ignorance, laziness, indolence. Or here we should know laziness does not just mean that person is always sleeping. There is one thing known as physical laziness, and the other thing is known as mental laziness. Mental laziness means carelessness. Some people are very careless about everything in life, right? They don't have a sense of responsibility. So that becomes a cause of bondage because you are careless, you don't take responsibilities, and therefore you don't feel any sense of anxiety. And you have an illusory sense of happiness. So I am very happy because I don't have any problems. I don't care for responsibilities. I don't take responsibilities in this, right? So that's mode of ignorance, indolence. And that becomes a cause of bondage again, right? O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. Purport. Simeshwar Prabhu. Are you there, Simeshwar Prabhu?
Yes. Yes, Prabhu. Sorry, it was on you. In this verse, the specific application of the word to is very significant. This means that the mode of ignorance is a very peculiar qualification of the embodied soul. The mode of ignorance is just the opposite of the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, by development of knowledge, one can understand what is what. But in the mode of ignorance, is just the opposite. Everyone under the spell of the mode of ignorance become mad, and a madman cannot understand what is what. Instead of making advancement, one becomes degraded. The definition of the mode of ignorance is stated in the Vedic literature. Vastu yathatmya jnana varakam viparyaya jnana janakam tamaha. Under the spell of ignorance, one cannot understand a thing as it is. For example, everyone can see that his grandfather has died and therefore he will also die. Man is mortal. The children that he conceived will also die. So death is sure. Still, people are madly accumulating money and working very hard all day at night, not caring for the eternal spirit. This is madness. In their madness, they are very reluctant to make an advancement in spiritual understanding. Such people are very lazy. When they are invited to associate for spiritual understanding, they are not very much interested. They are not even active like the man who is controlled by the mode of passion. Thus, another symptoms of one embedded in the mode of ignorance is that he sleeps more than is required. 6 hours of sleep is sufficient, but a man in the mode of ignorance sleep at least 10 or 12 hours a day. Such a man appears to be always dejected and is addicted to intoxicants and sleeping. These are the symptoms of a person conditioned by the mode of ignorance. Hare Krishna.
Yes, such a man appears to be always dejected and is addicted to intoxicants and sleeping. Satvam sukhe sanjayati rajah karmani bharata jnanamavritya tu tamaham pramade sanjayati utha. O son of Bharata, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness, passion conditions one to fruitive action, and ignorance covering one's knowledge binds one to madness. And Shri Prabhu. Shri Prabhu, please read the book. Not there. Divya Mat.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Panchan Pranam. A person in the mode of goodness is satisfied by his work. Our intellectual pursuit, just as a philosopher, scientist, or educator may be engaged in a particular field of knowledge and may be satisfied in that way. A man in the mode of passion may be engaged in creative activity. He wants he wants as much as he can and spend for good causes. Sometimes he tries to open hospital, give to charity, institution, etc. These are things of one in the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance cover. Knowledge in the mode of ignorance, whatever one does is good, neither for him or nor for anyone. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, one question.
Yeah, Prabhu.
The mode of goodness, it is okay. He is happy, so he is attached to happiness. In the mode of passion, he is there to fruitive activity, material result he is getting. In the mode of ignorance, it is neither good for him nor anyone else to what he is attached. That is what you said, illusory happiness. He is happy because he has no responsibility, no action, no responsibility at all. So he is still happy. When we call him mad, but he is still happy in his position. Is that the
Yes.
state?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Carefree. No sense of responsibility. So such people, they like to dream a lot, because they are away from reality. They stay away from reality. So they find their own illusory world They live in that illusory world in their mind, and they live in a sense of illusory happiness, mode of ignorance. Hmm. So that's mode of ignorance.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
Um, how do you speak to someone in the mode of ignorance to uplift them if they always morose and in their own world?
Very difficult.
Yes.
You can't instruct them because they are dull. They can't understand. So only when material nature kicks them, puts them in a lot of problems in life, then due to struggles, they may first of all come from mode of ignorance to mode of passion. They'll not directly rise to mode of goodness. They come from mode of ignorance to mode of passion. Right? And then after being in passion for a long time, then mode of goodness. So it's very difficult to deal with such people. I mean, to explain to them, to make them understand that they are wrong or they are wasting their time or they are just living in a world of dreams. Very difficult. So only when material nature shatters their false, illusory hopes, beliefs, then they may little bit get some sense. Very difficult for them. Such people, they take shelter of intoxication or illusory activities to keep their time fast. But then they don't achieve much in life in any way. Neither do they achieve like the people who are in passion, nor do they achieve like the people who are in goodness. Fine. So here there was characteristics shown about someone in ignorance. Pramad, Alasya, and Nidra. So what is pramad? Madness. It's an opposite of sattva guna. Careless tendency to perform actions which should be done. That's called pramad. You know what you should be doing, but you don't do. So that's opposite of goodness. Because a person in goodness knows what should be done and does it on time without laziness. So ignorance causes pramad. Next, lack of enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is because of mode of passion. So ignorance causes lack of enthusiasm. And when both goodness and passion are absent, then there is sleep. What is sleep? Sleep is faintness of consciousness. The consciousness has gone dull. So that's because of lack of goodness and passion. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Where does insomnia fit?
Insomnia. Insomnia is insomnia is a physical illness, no?
Okay.
Sickness. Sickness. We're not talking about health issues. Insomnia is a sickness.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
So the problem with material existence is that anything you do, pious act or sinful act, everything can become a reason for bondage. Right? The person in mode of goodness can work purely, can be active spiritually, materially inactive. Person in mode of passion can be inactive spiritually but active materially, very active. And it's okay. You can at least produce some material results and offer them to Krishna. But person in mode of ignorance was good for nothing. Materially also inactive, spiritually also inactive. And therefore such person produces only greater ignorance. Any questions so far before we go to the next 5 verses?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji,
Yeah.
could just bring that slide back. Actually, I had a question on that. Prabhuji, here in the mode of goodness, the activity is spiritual, but material, it is showing inactivity. So, which means they are working purely in Krishna consciousness, or
No, nothing like that. Not that purely they're working in Krishna consciousness, but their nature is that uh, they don't find much happiness in only material activities. And even if they do engage in material activities, that will be out of sense of duty.
Okay.
But they are not, excited about material.
Okay. But they are still earning, Prabhuji, right? Even if they are in some position, they are working, they are earning, and they are earning.
Mode of goodness does not mean that you just sit at home, don't do anything, right? They will not stop doing material activities. Here it means materially inactive means you're not, that's not your passion. That's not your ambition. That's not what you rejoice. A person in mode of passion will be chasing those things.
Okay.
Chasing money, chasing fame, chasing prosperity. A person in mode of goodness will have it. In fact, a person in mode of goodness will have it more easily than the person in mode of passion.
Yes, Prabhuji, got it.
And that person will not be chasing it. That person will just have it. And that person will just use it. But that person's excitement is in spiritual arena or spiritual field.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
And a person in mode of ignorance finds excitement in neither of the areas, neither spiritual nor material. That person is always an illusion, even spiritually or materially. Like if there is a person in mode of ignorance, then in material life also that person will just keep on dreaming. Oh, I'll become a big man, I'll become a big woman, I'll become so successful, I'll become like that without putting efforts. And in spiritual life also that person is similar. I'll become a great devotee of Krishna, I'll become a big preacher, I'll open 10 temples, I'll do this, I'll do that without putting efforts. Ignorance. Dull consciousness or low consciousness, not intelligent or not responsible.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, whenever we talk about Sattva Guna, Srila Prabhupada ji give example of scientists. So even they are also materially active in their field. They have
Yes. So now see,
invention and discoveries.
correct. That is Sattva Guna is present in them. In comparison to other people, as and when we discuss three modes, you should know it's always a relative thing. It's a relative thing. So when you are talking about a complete materialistic society, in that relatively, scientists, philosophers, poets are more in goodness than others.
Understood. Thank you.
Understood. So it's a relative thing. But when that goodness will increase to a certain amount, then they will not be interested in material pursuit also. Like examples of Isaac Newton and all that. Those scientists were actually looking for something spiritual beyond the material.
Agree.
Right?
Thank you.
the real scientists, the real thinkers.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Had a question. Don't we all end up being in the mixed modes, Prabhuji, displaying characteristics of each of these? Or would one characteristic be, is it possible to say that somebody is actually 100% Sattva, 100% Rajo, and 100% Tama?
No. We all are bound by the three modes in different ways, in different proportions. The mixture is there. So you can't say 100% goodness, 100% passion, 100% ignorance. But you can always find people with more goodness than passion and ignorance, more passion than goodness and ignorance, more good ignorance than passion and goodness. So proportionately, one of the modes may be the conquering or the ruling one. But it's not like purely 100% this, 100% not 100%. That is not possible. Because as Krishna says later, these modes are always competing with each other, trying to pull us down or conquer us, But there is this possibility that slowly and slowly we can reduce the effect of mode of passion and ignorance and increase the mode of goodness. And then that 100% goodness is what is known as pure goodness or transcendental state. So when you go to that transcendental state, then you become beyond the modes. Then no passion, no ignorance, no mundane goodness also. Then you are transcendent.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sadhu if someone is more in a mode of ignorance, much more, say 60-70%, how can he gradually come up to the mode of goodness, Prabhuji? He's really the worst case, but how do you bring him back to, say, Rajoguna and then Sattva-guna, if you want to really transform that person? Is it possible, Prabhuji?
It is possible. Why is it not possible? But then it depends on which route you take. What do you do? The easiest and the fastest process is hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sadhu Sangha. One comes in contact with sadhus, serves them, hears Bhagavatam from them. Immediately one can rise above mode of passion and ignorance. Right? That's like an immediate thing. But not everyone is fortunate to get that or accept that. So then there are slower ways of doing it. Change your diet, change your sleeping time, change your lifestyle habits, right? Change all that, and then slowly you rise more of this.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Other question? Okay. So what happens in mode of goodness? One is too self-satisfied to follow the dictate of the super soul. And that's why a person in mode of goodness sometimes does not make progress. If you ask a person in mode of goodness, how is life? Everything is very nice. Any problem? Not much problem. Everything is okay. I have everything. I have a good house. I have good family. I have good this. I have good that. Everything is okay. Too much satisfied in life. So then you don't accept the guidelines of living given by the super soul or dictation of the super soul. Passion, the desires, they speak too loudly, therefore cannot hear the voice of the super soul. And ignorance, too dull or mad to hear the voice of the super soul. So in this way, they don't get help, or they don't take advantage of the help. Therefore, this is a big, it's obstacle for devotees. Devotees means we are trying to rise above passion and ignorance, Rajoguna and Tamoguna, and coming to Sattvaguna. So there is one obstacle for a devotee, a practicing devotee, and that is called complacency. Complacency, being complacent. Satisfied. I'm okay. Life is fine. I'm okay. Complacency.
Prabhuji, then what should this practicing devotee do to get out of this complacency?
A very good question. So, a practicing devotee who is struggling to remain always enthusiastic and motivated should always be in association of devotees who are highly inspired and Krishna conscious. So that in their association, you also feel, oh, yes, I have to do a lot more. This much is not enough. I have to do more. This much is not enough. I have to do more. So, then you try to push yourself beyond your limits. That's called coming out of complacency.
Prabhuji, I have a question. Like, sometimes we have seen that by mistake, even after taking an initiation, sometimes by mistake, if we offend something, like if we break any rule, like 4 regulative principles mistakenly, and we ask forgiveness from our spiritual master, and that and we are realizing that we have done a mistake. So what should be done in that matter? Like we ask forgiveness from our spiritual master, then in that case we will be immediately be disqualified from being a disciplic succession, like what Diksha we have taken. He will immediately remove us from that, or that he will give a chance to improve.
Depends on the individual case, Mataji, but yes, mostly if we confess and beg for forgiveness, there's a chance given. Right. Next section. Characteristics of 3 modes and action and death in 3 modes. Okay. Rajastamascha sattvam bhavati bharata. Rajasattvam tamaschaiva tamasattvam rajastata. So this is exactly what you were asking about, Vaiji Mataji. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion, ignorance, O son of Bharata. Sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance. In other times, ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way, there is always competition for supremacy. Purport.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So when the modes of passion is prominent, the modes of goodness and ignorance are defeated. And when the mode of goodness is prominent, passion and ignorance are defeated. And when the mode of ignorance is prominent, passion and goodness are defeated. So this competition is always going on. Therefore, one who is actually intent on advancing in Krishna consciousness has to transcend these 3 modes. The prominence of some certain modes of nature is manifested in one's dealings, in his activities, in eating, etc. All this will be explained in later chapters, but if once he can develop by practice the mode of goodness and thus defeat the mode of ignorance and passion, one can similarly develop the mode of passion and defeat goodness and ignorance, or one can develop the mode of ignorance and defeat goodness and passion. Although there are these three modes of material nature. If one is determined, he can be blessed by the mode of goodness, and by transcending the mode of goodness, he can be situated in pure goodness, which is called the Vasudeva state, or a state in which one can understand the science of God. By the manifestation of particular activities, it can be understood in what mode of nature one is situated. Hare Krishna.
Yes. So this chapter and the further chapters, they give us detailed knowledge. Prabhupada is very clearly telling you that one can either increase the mode of goodness by practice and defeat ignorance and passion, or one can increase the mode of passion and defeat ignorance and goodness, or one can even increase the mode of ignorance and defeat passion and goodness. So it's like, what are you feeding? What are you feeding? And that's what we call as attitude. What's your attitude? What are you feeding? Mode of goodness or mode of passion or mode of ignorance? Isn't it? And the last is transcendental state, in which one can understand the science.
Prabhuji, in transcending the modes, like from ignorance to passion, how much importance our prarabdha or past sins play? If there are two people in ignorance, both of them are trying. One is able to go to passion, second is not able to go. So how much our effort matters here, and how much our past karmas or prarabdhas matter in transcending the modes, one mode to another?
Our prarabdha is only going to put us in a state and try to limit us to that state. Now, because of someone's prarabdha, the effort required to transcend the mode of ignorance may be more than someone else's efforts required to transcend the mode of ignorance. You're getting it? So, like for someone, it may not be that difficult, and for someone, it may be very difficult.
Yes, that is
But
exactly my question.
Yeah, so the efforts will be definitely based depending on your prarabdha. But the thing is, there's nothing like this person is destined to be in mode of ignorance. Nothing like that. You're getting it. It's just that the amount of effort required will be more. But one cannot say I'm destined to be in mode of ignorance. Just like, to give you an example, you may be bankrupt or you may be going negative with a loan of 20, 40 lakhs. And then there is a person who has zero balance, neither negative nor positive. And there is a person who has a positive balance of 40 lakhs in the bank account. And all of them are given a task of raising a 5 CR business. All three can do it. You can't say a person only with 40 lakhs, amount credit can do it. Even a person who is now going negative with a loan of 40 lakhs can also in future bring up a 5 CR business. But the amount of efforts required will be more in that case.
Prabhuji, sometimes I think of the Ambani brothers. Half of them, half they divided. After 15 years, one is on the road, one is the number one in the country or Asia. Both are intelligent, both put their efforts, but what was in store for them?
That you can't say. Was it efforts only? Was it prarabdha? Was it mistake? Was it attitude? You can't say. Right.
Yes.
But the thing is, there's nothing like limiting one. Of course, one's past will limit one's present and future, but by putting deliberate efforts, one can overcome also. One may need more time to overcome, but one can overcome.
Past is only, prarabdha is only for giving the circumstances in which we are placed, no further.
But then circumstances will also try to limit you, no?
Yeah.
So that those limitations also become then a factor contributing to success, isn't it? However, if one's determination is strong, one can go beyond those limitations.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Guruji, I have a question.
Yes.
Guruji, here it is mentioned that those who are in pure goodness or in Vasudeva state, in which one can actually understand the science of God. But here, as we are doing Bhakti-sastri, we are also trying to understand the science of God. But
So
how
we
we should
understand based on which mode we are situated in. Simple.
Okay.
Not everyone understands similarly, no? Or everyone has the same understanding. No.
Guruji, how this transcendent happens means from goodness to pure goodness?
Because of being in touch with transcendence.
Okay.
We are in contact with the holy name, we are in contact with the deity, we are in contact with Srimad Bhagavatam, we are in contact with sadhus, pure devotees. So because of being in contact with pure goodness, you get translated into pure goodness.
That means more will be strong in sadhana, then it will be easy for us to understand the science of God.
Yes, the more the iron remains in fire, iron becomes fire.
Yes, Guruji.
That's how it is. And now the three modes are competing with each other, trying to become the master of the living entity. So this competition, sometimes ignorance becomes powerful, sometimes goodness becomes powerful, sometimes passion becomes powerful. This happens on the basis of what? Our own past karma.
Okay.
So basically, rising above the modes means you are trying to go beyond your karma.
Yeah. Because those karma is getting manifested, right? In different
Those
times.
karmas are, with the influence of time, those karmas are getting used.
Okay.
I mean, this you all must have felt. If you have lived a life of 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, then you must have felt there was a time in your life when you're too much in ignorance.
Yes.
There was a time in your life when you're too passionate, right?
Yes.
And then there are some those rare days in life when you are sensible, good of mode of goodness. Isn't it?
Prabhuji, this competition amongst the three modes, when they compete, are there any personalities behind them? This is personality or mode of goodness or ignorance.
Of course, everything is a personality. No, everything is a personality because there are personalities behind the forces. So there is a personality, no, Durga Devi behind the forces. Okay. What is the solution? The solution is how to rise beyond the modes. Hear about Krishna. That is the way. That is the way. If one hears about Krishna or God, then gradually becomes freed from the clutches of darkness and passion. And actually, then he comes to the platform of peace. And when he's perfectly in goodness, then this passion, ignorance, and the byproducts cannot touch him. I mean, they are there, but they cannot touch him. Tada rajastamo bhava kama lobhadayaschaye. If we hear the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-gita regularly, then we become free from the effects of the modes of ignorance and passion gradually, though it takes time, but it is sure. Effects of the dominant mode. Few more verses we'll do today. सर्वद्वारेषु देहेऽस्मिन् प्रकाश उपजायते ज्ञानं यदा तद्विद्यात् यदा तदा विद्यात् विवृधं सत्त्वमित्युत. The manifestation of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. Now, this is very interesting. How do you know you are in mode of goodness? So, the experience will be when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. What does this mean? All the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. The eyes, the ears, the nostrils, the mouth. These are the gates, right? So they're illuminated by knowledge. What does it mean?
They do their functions towards Krishna.
We serve.
We constantly are linked or connected to the Krishna.
Yeah, all of them engage in Krishna service, devotional service.
Okay, so that's one way of looking at it. The other is they're illuminated by knowledge means they perceive. What are these gates? They are senses, no? Eyes, ears, nostrils. So illumination by knowledge means they perceive the things as they are. That's called illumined by knowledge. Perceive as they are. So then you should know you are in mode of goodness. When your perception is not faulty, then you are in mode of goodness.
But Prabhuji, when slightly we are advanced, we will always think as human beings that I am seeing the things as they are. I am not interpreting as per. So this is the condition. No, we will always feel we are.
So here it's not about whether you feel it or not. Here it's about actually it is or not. When you are in mode of goodness, you will see things as they are. Now, how do you know what is the reality? Through the knowledge of the scriptures, no? So when your experience is the same as what is given in the scriptures, the description, you should know I'm in mode of goodness. Fine?
Yes.
Hmm.
Practical
Alright.
realization is when regularly for a long time we read Bhagavad-gita, associate with the devotees, we will ourselves feel that there is some improvement of what I was and what I am now.
No, that will be there. But we are here discussing about those moments of goodness, those moments of passion, those moments of ignorance. So how do you identify that moment of goodness? The experiences, the senses are illuminated by knowledge. All right. Fine. That's the Prabhupada explains in the Perfect. We'll read. Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Sadhu Pranam. There are 9 gates in the body, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, the mouth, the genitals, and the anus. When every gate is illuminated by the symptoms of goodness, it should be understood that one has developed the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, one can see things in the right position, one can hear things in the right position, and one can taste things in the right position. One becomes cleansed inside and outside. In every gate, there is development of symptoms of happiness, and that is the position of goodness. Thank you, Prabhuji. Sadhu.
Like to give an example. What is stale, right? Stale. But someone is in mode of ignorance, that person will find it fresh, though it is stale. You're getting it? But if you're in goodness, you will come to it stale. A person in ignorance will relish it. Oh, it is so tasty, so fresh. But it is stale. Same thing with your vision, same thing with your sense of hearing. which means your senses are very alert when you're in mode of goodness, very sharp, very alert, not dull, illumined by knowledge. Okay. Next. Lobah pravrittirarambah karmanam ashamah spriha rajasyetani jayante viprite bharatarshava. The chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop. So these will be the experience. Great attachment, a desire to engage in fruitive activity. You want to work very hard for something. Uncontrollable desire and hankering. That means mode of passion is increasing. Shamala Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. One in the mode of passion is never satisfied with the position he has already acquired. He anchors to increase his position. If he wants to construct a residential house, he tries his best to have a palatial house, as if he would be able to reside in that house eternally, and he develops a great hankering for sense gratification. There is no end to sense gratification. He always wants to remain with his family and in his house and to continue the process of sense gratification. There is no cessation of this. All these symptoms should be understood as characteristic of the mode of passion. Hare Krishna.
So in passion, you are too attached to what you have. You want to increase your efforts to increase what you have. You engage in a lot of hard work. You can't withdraw your senses from sense objects. And you have great longing for objects of sense enjoyment. That's mode of passion. And then mode of ignorance. Next verse. Aprakasho apravrittischa pramado moha evacha tamasyetani jayante vivritte kuru nandana. When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion are manifested. Ashok Prabhuji.
When there is no illumination, knowledge is absent. And in the mode of ignorance does not work by a regulatory principle. He wants to act whimsically for no purpose. Even though he has the capacity to work, he makes no endeavor. This is called illusion. Although consciousness is going on, life is inactive. These are the symptoms of one in the mode of ignorance.
All right. So we'll stop here. Any questions? We'll continue in the next class. Next verses of the chapter.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Is Durga Mata the mode of goodness as well as the mode of passion and ignorance? It just manifests in our life depending on our nature or what it is that we're doing.
She's the controller of the three modes. She is like the deity, in charge.
Okay.
So she is beyond the modes otherwise. Though the controller of modes, but she herself is beyond the modes.
Prabhuji, I have a doubt. We also say that Shiva.
When you say she is beyond the modes, you see, she is an energy of Krishna. We are not talking about a jiva here. Isn't it? She's an energy of Krishna who is doing a particular task. She's not a jiva like us. And as a person, her service to Krishna is to do this task. So if she is serving Krishna purely, she is beyond the modes. Right? She is beyond the modes. If she is serving Krishna purely, she is beyond the modes. And she has no choice other than serving Krishna. Because she is Krishna's energy.
Yes.
So we should know which tattva we are talking about. She is Shakti tattva. She is not Jiva tattva. Isn't it? She is Shakti tattva.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other question?
Yes, Prabhuji, we also say that Shiva is the god of mode of ignorance.
She is not, yeah, when you say he's God, means he's controlling that. Controlling that energy. If let's say you say ignorance is energy, passion is energy, goodness is energy. So he is controlling that energy. You're getting it?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Controlling that energy. So in that way, he's said to be the Lord of Tamoguna. Vishnu is said to be the Lord of Sattvaguna. Brahma is said to be the Lord of Rajaguna.
Krishna Prabhu.
And if they are not careful, if Brahma is not careful, or Shiva is not careful, and if they are jivas, we are talking about, we already discussed this in Madhurya Kadambi, then they may also become what? A victim of the modes they are controlling. But mostly they will not, because they are Lord and Master. They know how to protect themselves or stay aloof. Will you say anything else?
Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhu, if someone is working with some person who are fully in the mode of ignorance, can this have an influence on that person?
First of all, as Vaiji Mataji questioned, no one can be completely in ignorance. They are proportions or mixtures. So you can say someone is more in ignorance than you, or relatively. But no one can be completely in ignorance. That person will also have the passionate aspect of the goodness aspect, isn't it? So such people are always there around you, and it's with everyone that you have different kinds of people around you, in ignorance, passion, in goodness. So how to deal with them? Depends on what kind of dealings you want to have with them. I mean, this is not something which is very difficult to understand. How you carry yourself in the social world around you. Simple. To be a little smart, diplomatic, tactful.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
Any other question?